Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another Q&A, so let's go ahead and get this started. Alright, first question. Hey Jason, I have an extremely tough time recovering from the deadlift, which I think comes down to my line of work. Pretty much every day I'm lifting about 60 times 65 pound bags off the floor and loading them into a machine. This has made me stray away from the deadlifting at the gym because I can never hit anything close to what I know is my max. I still focus a lot on pulling in the gym, doing barbell rows for my pronated pull, pendlays for my supine pull. Is there any other way I can maximize my back development without actually deadlifting? Lok-tar, ogar. All right, brother. No, go ahead and deadlift. Look, you have a fairly physically demanding job, but the deadlift will actually help you with your job, right? The deadlift will actually help you because you're having to pick up all these bags off the floor. You'll get better work capacity. What you need to mitigate is the total workload on your deadlift, because you're saying, hey, I feel like I can't pull anywhere near my max because of my job. Then don't pull near your max, right? Don't pull near your max. Deadlift moderately heavy with fairly low volume. You know, most of the way most novice programs would have you do, and maybe you'll have to pull a little lighter than you normally would as a result of this. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be deadlifting, right? Go ahead and deadlift. It's going to help you with your job. But again, what you're going to have to watch, because of how taxing the deadlift can be, because of the nature of your job, you're not going to be able to deadlift to failure. You're not going to be able to deadlift to a true max. But that's okay. That doesn't mean the deadlift is not going to be a valuable tool that's going to help you with back development. You just have to learn to check your ego and moderate the weight on the bar and the volume accordingly when you're performing this exercise. But if anything, slowly getting stronger on the deadlift will actually make your job slightly easier, because it will improve your overall strength and work capacity of picking things up off the floor. All right? So that's a benefit to you. You just have to learn to balance the recovery of all of it. All right, next question. Which methods do you recommend other than changing rep ranges and tracking them to beat the biological law of adaptation? I feel a lot of us would like a method we can just apply into infinity. With my bench, I'm doing week A closed grip touch and go, week B regular with pause. Same with the overhead press, push press versus strict flex closed grips. What about with rows and chin-ups? Will a barbell row, landmine row work well together? Will a Deadhang chin-up with a different grip work well with a chin-up where I don't pause at the bottom? Congratulations on the silver play button. As an OG, I would like to get a bicep shot before you go. Well, I can tell you right now, brother, you probably have... Sounds almost like you've drunk too far into the strap-on Destiny Kool-Aid, or maybe too far into West Side. You don't need to change your exercises every week. The biological adaptation is not hard to get around. People have this weird idea because certain people have coined it this way, and they made people think that, oh man, it makes you stall automatically. No, it only makes you stall when you keep doing the same thing. Meaning, every workout you get a diminished response from the exact same training effect, from the same training stimulus. And yes, you will stall at a certain point and no longer make any progress. But any change bypasses the biological law of adaptation. You don't need to go from, like a closed grip touch and go to a wide grip with a pause week to week. You're going to have slower progress. To bypass the biological law of adaptation, it's as simple as changing your grip width an inch. I know that's going to sound crazy, but yeah, that's all it would take. Adding a 1 pound microplate to the bar once every 3 weeks. Trying to add a rep somewhere once every 3 weeks. That will actually bypass the biological law of adaptation. You don't have to change exercises or rotate them on a weekly basis. I know there are people out there who are promoting that and telling you that's what you have to do, but I'm just telling you, brother, those people are wrong. These are oftentimes people who are short gamers. These are people who are trying to sell you nonsense. It really isn't that difficult. It's not this difficult thing to get around. It's just stating that you stop making results past a certain amount of stimulation. That's all it is that if you do the same thing for about 3 weeks straight, you will stop gaining muscle and you will stop gaining strength after repeating the exact same training effect for 3 weeks straight. So that basically means if you're doing 5 sets of 5 with 300 pounds 3 times a week, that after about 3 weeks, you're no longer going to gain on it. You're going to have to add a pound somewhere, 301 pounds. You're going to have to adjust something in order to get a continued training effect. Otherwise, you're going to stay right where you are after that. All right, does that make sense? It's not this horrible thing that you have to get around. It's just stating that you no longer get results after you've done the same thing over and over again. It stops working because there's no new demands being placed on the body. It doesn't mean that it's something where you stall and you can't get around it. It's been coined as a far more negative thing than it really is by people who are trying to convince you of gimmicky stuff. All right, next question. Hey, Jason, could you discuss the benefits of front squats if you prefer them over back squats? What do you mean well, you have a kind of a presupposition there if I prefer them over back squats. I don't. Why would I? So we can throw that out. What are the benefits though? You can get a good training effect with a lighter weight. And if you can use a lighter weight with less axial loading, you can recover easier. In other words, the front squat is easier to recover from than a back squat. So if you're trying to, build your quads, build your legs up, things like that, even your thoracic erectors, the front squat is a fantastic tool because you can sometimes use a little more training volume before you hit your maximum recoverable volume, or you can recover easier from it, or if you just need extra leg work, you can do front squats after your back squats in order to get more leg volume in that isn't as hard on you in terms of axial loading, right? Because you can use about 15% less weight and get the same stimulation in your quads and in a couple of other muscles. Those are the advantages. What are the disadvantages? You recruit less muscles and you use less weight. Do the same range of motion. Less muscle involvement means you get less hypertrophy. Less weight while using all the same muscles through the same ranges of motion means probably less total strength potential. So if you're trying to get as big and as strong as possible out of a single exercise, the front squat will be inferior to the back squat because there is less muscle involved and less weight on the bar for the same distance traveled just due to the nature of it. So, and that's because there's fewer muscles involved, not because there's some machine advantage or something. People say, use more weight on a leg press or hack squat. Yeah, you can, but it's because you're not using as much muscle either. It's in a machine. It doesn't count. So that's your disadvantage. It's not as effective of an exercise. It's still a good exercise. It still has its place. It's still an exercise I endorse. But as a secondary exercise, not as a primary lift, because it can't put as much muscle on you or as much strength as a back squat. But it's still a fantastic exercise. I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying it's a bad exercise. It has its place. But it cannot replace the back squat as a primary movement if you're trying to maximize muscle and strength gains. All right, next question. Hi, Jason. I'm 48 years old, 170 pounds, 5'9", and only started strength training about 12 months ago for the first time in my life. I'm feeling more fit than ever. Notice definite strength gains, better posture, better mobility, and overall feeling great for 48 years old. However, I'm very far away from your 200 overhead press, 300 bench, 400 squat, 500 deadlift benchmarks for healthy males. After 1 year of training, I'm only at 135 overhead, 200 bench, 225 squat, 300 deadlift. How should I feel about my progress? I started at 155 pounds, gained about 15 pounds of both muscle and some fat. If I continue to work hard, 3 full body days per week, good diet, good sleep, etc., can I expect to get to your benchmarks? Or did I start too late in life? Right now, it seems I'll keep making gains, but it seems nearly impossible that I'll ever get to those suggested numbers. What do you think? Thanks. By the way, I've been listening to you for the past 6 months and really, really like your stuff. I'm trying to implement the things you talked about. All right, brother. It's going to be harder because you started later in the game. It's not going to be impossible. It's not going to be impossible, but it might end up being too much for you. It's going to depend upon your genetics, your lifestyle, everything else. It sounds like you've made good progress. Now, you might look at a lot of my novice recommendations and be like, well, I didn't make as much progress, as what you say guys should be making in their first year. Yeah, that's what I'm telling a 21-year-old kid should be doing. I know the 21-year-olds are getting pissed. I just call them kids, but you guys are your kids. Your children still, guys. Accept it. Accept it. Your whole life is in front of you. You're still a baby. So the point is, that's what I expect from them in a year. You started at 48. Your progress is going to be about half. Now, I'm telling most of these younger guys trying to do this that it's going to take them 3 to 5 years to hit those goals. So if it takes you twice as long, you're looking at, 6 to 10 years of consistent injury-free work, right? 6 to 10 years. But it's probably doable. I'd say there's at least, depending upon looking at your initial results that you got in 1 year at your age starting out, I'm going to bet you there's at least a 50% chance you can pull it off, 50-50 at this point. So put in the work, see where you're at 5 years from now and assess it. But yeah, it's probably doable, And if you can't quite reach those numbers, I think you'll be able to get fairly close. So keep moving forward and keep up the good work. And at the very least, like you said, you already feel a lot fitter, a lot stronger, a lot more mobile. You're already seeing health benefits. So, you're already winning. So just keep moving forward and see where you can get. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.